Guys, big up, big up, big up. What's going on? It's been a tough one, you know it is, and not a great result yesterday. I know a lot of the fan base are Ten Hag out. A lot of the fan base are on the fence. A lot of the fan base are like me, Ten Hag in, not sure what to say, how to defend the manager, if there should be a defense of the manager, defense of the team, of the result. I mean, we drew, it felt like a loss, but at the same time, what could we do? What could we really expect differently to be happening? Because, it's one of those things where it really, really is difficult. Difficult to manage considering our form in the last 5 to 7 games. We could have won but didn't, could have drawn but lost. It's a lot to take in, guys. But at the end of the day, it's one of those things where I say, you know what? It's a story of the season. There's been so many different reasons why we are in the situation we are. And it could be blamed on injuries. It could be blamed on poor management. It could be blamed on the fact that some of these players just aren't good enough. But what can we say? What can we do? Do we sack this manager and move on, or do we stand firm, add the new structure, let the manager try to move forward into the next season, get some players out, get some players in, hope for the best? When I say hope for the best, I mean let him do his thing. I'm pretty sure with the right amount of players available, this manager should be as successful as his first season. I mean, this season has by no means been easy to manage, and I'm pretty sure any manager would have had lots of trouble and probably make more mistakes or even worse than our manager currently. I mean, we sat in sixth for most of the season. It's true that we're probably in seventh at the moment, but results could favor at the end of the season. We could finish fifth or sixth. Teams above us, look, Liverpool's dropped points today. West Ham also dropped points, losing to Fulham. There's also other teams that have been dropping points and other teams under ascendance. Could Man United recover and finish strongly? Is this manager the right manager? Who knows? But the structure is coming in. What better manager you have to put with this structure than a manager has proven to be successful with a proper structure behind him at a club previously, and proven that even with no structure in his first season, he could get into the top four. Guys, it's a lot to take in, a lot to talk about. Let's react to this draw. 2-2 versus Bournemouth away. Guys, get in the comments, smash your like, smash a subscription if you haven't subscribed before. Don't forget to hit those notification bells so you can see when we're live. And those of you on X, don't forget to give a retweet. Big up to all of you joining us. Let's get into the show. Big up to everybody. And I got Vegeta joining me. I was supposed to start the stream a lot earlier, but I had some stuff to do, so I had to delay it. Big up to you, my bro. How you're doing? Hope you're well.
No, big up to you, Mark. It's probably for the best you delayed the stream. I needed to take a nap. I've had a long Sunday morning.
Yo, it's been a difficult one. It's been a really mad one, bro. Like, and to be fair, having a slow Sunday morning, I haven't really watched much football this morning, bro. I've just been mad. I've been watching the women's team play Chelsea, however, having a good performance. And I see Lauren James have our defender in a headlock, doesn't get sent off. I'm like, what? Is it just against Man United these things happen? Not
Yes,
just the
it is.
men's. It's
Yes, it
crazy.
is. Yeah, so what are you saying, bro? What do we say? It looks like 10 hog people are defending for their lives right now. What are you saying, my bro?
Bro, you gotta. It's like, it feels like a fight for your life. You're in the ring, and it's like the second to last round. You got one more round to go. You fought well in the round before, but this round is just you've been taking some punches. You're trying to roll with them, and they
Yeah,
keep coming. They just keep coming, man. Because to be fair, like I'm not really happy about the performance yesterday. At the same time as I'm a Ten Hag inner, as everyone knows, but at the same time, I'm actually not too surprised by the result because you look at this team, and in many games we've complained about Scott McTominay's lack of effort, Rashford's lack of effort. Why is it today that we have to be complaining about Garnacho's lack of effort? I mean, I couldn't speak enough highly about this guy the last few weeks, talking about he's been one of the key players in our attack, one of the biggest threats going forward for us in game after game. And in this game, I don't know what it was. He just seemed not to be at it today. You know what I mean? So I'm not trying to blame him for all what happens, but I'm like, all these subtle things, they all affect the team majorly. You know what I mean? Willie Kwambala, he needed to have a Garnacho who was on his game yesterday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like Diego Dallo was like calling for Garnacho in a moment to help him, like, yo, cover one of these defenders, this one on the right, or cover the one on the inside so I could go back. Garnacho doesn't respond. The attack continues. Dallo has to make a choice. He makes the wrong choice. We concede the second goal. So I feel like it's one of those things where the substitution was the right substitution. I also would have preferred Rashford to also come off. But, maybe Anthony was not available for selection. But look, there was a young striker on the bench, Ethan Wheatley. I've been talking about this kid. I would have liked to seen him get a few minutes because I really think he might have done something amazing. He's got that kind of air about him. You know what I mean? But it's one of those things where there's always a choice you can make, and not making a choice is also a choice. You know what I mean? So the management, I wouldn't say was great for the game, but at the same time, I'm going to say, you know what? I couldn't expect him to do much, much better seeing what we had left on the bench. And I did really, really and truly expect a better performance, a more consistent performance from the like of Garnacho, especially. Hoyland didn't have such a great game yesterday. I think he could have done better. Casemiro as well. So it's one of those things, man. I just look at it from the perspective where I just hope this team could do better. I see Yarli's coming in here saying Anthony did have a fallout with the manager. He was told he would start. Then Garnacho passed the fitness test. So Anthony got dropped from the team, and Anthony argued with Eric Ten Hag. And I'm looking at this and I'm saying, well, if that's the case, bro, like, look at it like this. Garnacho should have played better yesterday if this was the case. Because, I mean, we all could argue Anthony's Eric Ten Hag signing. He's his favorite player. He's the one he brought here. And look, he's putting him out for Garnacho. And look at the performance that Garnacho gave. I would say that's not honoring your manager. That's not repaying the faith that he has in you. You know what I mean, Vegito?
Uh, I hear what you're saying, Mark. And for people like me, and I mean like people who are like on the fence, it's annoying because I'm with you in the sense that I'm annoyed at these players. They can't fool me. I know what they are, and I know what we're getting. So ideally, I would like for us to get rid of them before we get rid of the manager. But then their decisions with the starting 11 and sometimes with the substitutions that I look at and I go, Ten Hag, you're not making this easy for yourself. I understand that there's limited resources right now, fully understand it. And I think that's the one thing that people who support Eric need to understand is that we're not wanting him out because it's a popular thing like the Eric Ten Hag out is, but he's also not giving us something to defend. Like you're struggling right now and you actually want him to be here. You get what I mean? So
100%, bro.
for us to also want to believe, we've been hurt so many times that we almost are reluctant to try and believe in anything. So when we do try to believe, we feel like our faith is rewarded with mediocre. I mean, like I understand that there's limited players on the pitch for us, but why are we still playing Rashford? Rashford is checked out, in my personal opinion. He doesn't seem committed to the cause, and he's gonna cost you your job, Ten Hag. That's just how I see it. Try something. Maybe try those young lads, like you're saying, because that's what we're also praising Ten Hag for his ability to play with the youth. Try Ahmad. Would Amrabat do any worse than Casemiro? Casemiro's been making a plethora of mistakes. Amrabat makes one mistake and we've crucified him. It's over. We don't even want to see him again. These are just some of the things that I think. Try it at this stage. Try it. Like, what are you going to have to do? You're already seeing what you're getting from the guys you're trying to play. They're not trying to do anything. And I'm also worried about Delo because he's been, in my opinion, our player of the season, and we've been praising him. And then these last couple of games, he's been really shaky. I don't know if the amount of games he's had to play because for the first time, he's been like the guy. You get me? For that side of the pitch, he's the guy. To the point where we're shifting, what's his name? Wan-Bissaka to the other side. Like Ten Hag, that's his guy. But even now, he's getting like dragged into all of this. That's just where I am with this. It's not that I want Ten Hag out. I don't want to see the same soap opera with the manager changing doors, but we keep the players. Because I don't know who said it, but they said it rightly in that if somebody else comes in, they might want to try these players again, and I don't want to try these players again. I'm tired of these players. These guys don't. I call them the fake Man United. They represent. They don't represent us. They don't care about us. They only represent their interests, and as such, they need to be moved on. So that's what's hard about this for us. It's like I don't want Tenor to go, but I'm also looking at it from like Ineos's point of view to say he's giving them a decision to make, and I don't want that for him.
True, true. I totally agree there. And like Yali is saying here, I find like Dallo was playing too much games as well. Like he doesn't really have any cover. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of hoping in the next 8 games we kind of see some bit of maybe Orgonayi coming to the team, or maybe a cheeky Harry Mass coming in with a few minutes, just so Dallo could get some rest because he's been playing week in week out, barring the week that he had the suspension with the 2 yellow cards in 30 seconds. So, like, yeah, it's been hard, man. Like, especially in this last game, bro. Like the game against Liverpool and Chelsea, like honestly, for me, the referee took that game out of the manager's hands, out of the
Yeah.
players' hands, to be fair.
Yes.
So it was a lot easier. This game, he really didn't help himself. Like I really wanted to see some more substitutions. I could have seen what done with Mason Mount coming in earlier than he came in. Even as maybe a cheeky Amrabat come in, change it up a little bit. You know what I mean? At the
Mm.
same time, it's like I just look at it from this perspective and I say to myself, you know what, like maybe we just need to get to the summer and keep this manager and let some players move on and see what goes on in the next season because like I mean, I do think he could do better, but when I look at I think about, the perspective of other managers and if he had implemented his style last season, where would we have finished? We probably would not have finished in Champions League. We probably would have finished eighth or seventh or something like that. And then this season he would have probably gotten more players into the club and been able to, do a lot better. But, it's not what happened. It's not the reality. It's only what I'm thinking in my head of what might have been a better solution or a better situation for us to be in right now. While we haven't done great this season, it's not like I don't see any s- games where that gives me hope or any patterns of playoffs that says to me, look, if this guy gets the right players, we could be doing something. I've seen it in quite a few games. So like I'm always gonna say, well, look, it gets bad, but I want to keep this manager because I feel like I don't want the reset. The whole point of keeping this manager and moving forward is getting more players out who need to leave. And if we get a new manager, he's probably going to want to keep a lot of those players to see what he can do with them to maybe say, well, I can do better than Ten Hag. You know what I mean? It's 18 months into his campaign as manager. His second season is almost finished, but we've never went beyond the second season with a lot of these managers, especially the one, some of them who might have deserved it. And it's the same reset every 18 months that I'm dreading, bro. I'm feeling like it's just gonna set us back even more time if we don't just, push on. Maybe it will give I'm just thinking it would give the management and the executives, even Ineos, some time, another season to look at more potential managers if he needs replacing at this time, Christmas, or this same time next season. You know what I mean? I'm thinking as well, if we was to get in some more available players like two centre backs, two midfielders, maybe even a striker, or supplement the striker with the youth players and supplement some of the midfield with youth players, but definitely bring in two centre backs. I'm definitely thinking if we had more availability, we would be more consistent. Our performances would have definitely have us in top four if we had more consistency. If we had the better players, I think we definitely would be easily comfortable in top four, but it's not happened like that. You know what I mean? And who's to say it's actually going to happen like that if we were get the players? But I mean, it still to me feels better than hoping that the next manager coming in is going to get these players out in his first season and not going to use most of them.
You know, I want to believe that with better players or more consistent players, will play better. But obviously, I think I need to visit my optometrist because is getting ran through the middle part of the plan is letting your goalkeeper face shot after shot after shot part of the plan, and that's one of my criticisms of Ten Hag to say. I understand that you don't have the tools to work with, but are these guys so bad as football players that we basically have no midfielder? Because our midfield consistently most of the time it's Kobe Mano, Bruno Fernandes, and Casemiro. These guys should be good enough, in my humble opinion, to do something to a certain degree. But if they're not attacking, we don't really have a midfield. People just go through it at their own leisure, and that unfortunately puts the people who are the makeshift back four, because they are. We've got a Frankenstein back four, um, under pressure, because if nobody is providing some sort of cover for the guys at the back, they're gonna be pulled out of positions, and we're gonna see a lot of the stuff we've been seeing of people getting cutbacks, fouling, conceding penalties. It's because we don't have anything, and we can't play football with just two areas. We can't just have a defensive area and an attacking position, because the midfield exists to connect those two areas, but also to protect them depending on the phase of play. So if we're attacking, it helps us to get the ball out from Onana into the attacker's area of the field. But if we're defending, it helps to protect those guys so that we can set up the way the manager might want to set up defensively. But if people can just go through that however they want, and that's the things I sometimes have to wonder and say, Tenok, are we the wrong ones? Are we not understanding what you're trying to do? But this can't be the plan, surely, because if you look at the teams we're trying to compete with and to become better than, that's not happening to them. You don't see their goalkeepers conceding 14, 15 chances before the end of the first half. And it allows those goalkeepers are not exactly great. Let's not be like, they also, if they conceded as many chances as Onana, they would also have a lot of the blunders that he does. But because their teams are set up in such a way that is like it's reduced to a degree, that Onana can make saves. We've seen it. So just keep the shots away from him and let him make saves when he needs to make saves.
True. I mean, the only thing I would argue there is that all those teams that we're trying to compete with have have also had time to learn their system more than 5 seasons. Both of them, three of them, all three of them. To be fair, you know what I mean. I mean, it's one of those things where I feel like it's not just him, and it's not just him. It's like sometimes the players, like for me, in some games the midfield is not as open, right? To be fair, like
Yeah,
we
yeah.
might have
No,
some
I
moments,
agree.
but just some moments. But then there are some games it's wide open, right? And I'm saying to myself, that's definitely not his idea. That's definitely based on what's happening in the game and the players not adjusting and the other team taking advantage of certain mistakes. And I'm saying to myself, look, yeah, this is a problem, but at the same time, right? It could be fixed if players anticipated a little bit better. If players did a little bit was a little bit more aggressive to recovering loose balls or the balls that they themselves lose. Because we've seen game after game, it's sometimes a situation where a player doesn't track back in that initial moment and that play goes on to lead to a goal. And definitely that can be the manager's plan. It has to be that player decides, well, I'm going to switch off. I'm not going to make that run back to tackle now. The guy should handle that. Then it goes on to be a goal. And what are we going to say then? You know what I mean? So it's like, I look at it from the perspective where, like that first goal that scored against us where Kombala fell, like Garnacho lost that ball. And had he run at the defender, maybe even fouled him, right? It would
Mm.
have taken away the pressure. They would not have scored that first goal. Who knows what the result of the game would have ended like? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and Joe Blackman is saying that the first goal, Onana can't say that was all the defense, but also, guys, the net is big. Let's be fair here. What is Onana supposed to do when people are backing off? Like I said, the midfield allowed these people to play through them. Solanke he's in good form, guy. He's a good striker by these season's metrics. So I can't even put that on Onana. That's just us being all over the place. Like you said, too many. Yes, with yesterday's game, if you look at yesterday's game in isolation, too many people were having a bad game yesterday. Too many people on the pitch, and you can't cover up everybody's deficiencies when you've got so many people doing what Garnacho's doing. I mean, I've always said his first touch is a bit off, but yesterday he was trying to kill us. Dalot just seemed really tired. He was always caught out of position. Even Kambala. at first he seemed like a little bit uneasy, but Maguire is not helping him, telling the boy to move where he's supposed to be. He's the more experienced guy. He should be helping Kambana. But anyway, that's just my opinion. The midfield, like I said, like what is Casemiro doing? That guy's lost his legs. He's lost his game. He's lost his mind. At this stage, he's not trying to help us. He's a passenger, as much of a passenger as Rashford is. Speaking of Rashford, the only time he goes back to sprint is when he does the one mistake and he realizes we're gonna kill him for it. So he tries to run back, and then he's just, oh, okay, I tried. That's Rashford's attitude now. Oh, I tried, and then he just gives up. So yesterday, I would say that too many people had a bad game. That's why I wouldn't put it 100% on the manager. But I like to look at the league holistically to say what are we getting from this team and manager, and what should we be getting out of them that we're not getting, so that we can move forward. And I think, like you saying, I really honestly want the players to go, and for the new guys to try and help Eric play some sort of football. But also, Eric, man, like do something better, bro. You can't be making two substitutions when your counterpart is bringing four people on. What does that say about you? Like it sounds like the other guy is trying to win the game, and we've lost. Not that we've lost one game and drawn one. That's 4 points we've conceded to Bournemouth. That's not good enough, honestly. But like I said, I see it from both perspectives. The players let themselves down yesterday. I don't know where their heads were, but also the manager could have influenced the game yesterday a bit better, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. I still feel like we should have had at least four substitutions in that game, to be fair. Like, really honest, I wanted to see Rashford benched yesterday in the worst way, like, probably hooked off in the first half. You know what I mean? And I was disappointed I didn't see some more substitutions as well. There's a few games I was disappointed in not seeing more substitutions. But one thing I can say is, though, I feel like things might take a turn because Anthony, he's been in good form. I think he's going to probably start the next game. Ahmad has been in good form. I think he should definitely start the next game. I like the way he performed yesterday. I feel like, you know, it's one of those things, man. Like, maybe because we're going to be playing Coventry, maybe he starts Ahmad and Anthony. You know what I mean? I don't know, bro, but I wish he would just be a little bit more decisive and start some of these other players who've been showing up good performances consecutively going into the game, rather than go back to a Rashford or like how he did went back to a Garnacho to start. You know what I mean? Because initially I was of the belief that Garnacho and Anthony was starting the game yesterday, and then I thought, well, Anthony was the one who was going to get sacrificed for Rashford, but it turns out that it was Garnacho who sacrificed Anthony because Rashford was always going to play, which is, I mean, that in itself, bro, that worries me with him, bro. But like at the same time, I always keep saying I don't know the situations, but at the same time, you should, senior players have a little bit more necessity to start games than players breaking through, especially in the final moments of the season, because in a way I feel like if we were to bench Rashford for a lot of this season, it would hamper him being able to be sold for a decent price. I feel like, putting Anthony on the back burner or even a Amad Diallo, it makes a little bit more sense because you know what, we could still use them going into next season while we try to get to offload Rashford. So it's just one of those things. Like, I mean, Yali's coming in saying that clearly there was two alright who had a good game. Bruno clearly cared. Maguire and Onana are the two who had alright games. We had Ericsson on the bench. Castle looked like he was walking through a knee-deep mud in both from the 50th minute. What has Ericsson said to the manager that makes him not get minutes? But the problem for me with Ericsson is that he did come out and say that he is not happy with the minutes he's getting, but I've seen so many poor performances from Ericsson this season. It takes away more than what he contributed in the few games that he did contribute well in. I mean, I would have liked to see him yesterday because I feel like Bournemouth is a game where, you could have probably dropped Bruno to 8, bring him on, drop Rashford, bring on Mount, and we could have definitely won that game. It's just one of those weird ones that, you don't know what the manager was seeing, but tactically speaking, I feel like majorly we were let down by player performances as opposed to a manager's tactics in the game. That's just how I saw it. So
Yeah, I need an all or nothing because I need to know what these tactics are. Like at least I know when Arteta is in there, he's talking about potatoes and people being the potato. What is Eric Ten Hag saying to these guys? Is it a language barrier? Is it people just being on their phones during the team talk? And Eric is just like, you know what? I'm getting rid of them anyway. It is what it is. I don't know. It just seems like there's some sort of disconnect between the players and this management because these guys look like they're just showing up for a check and going home, which is why I
Bro,
call them football influencers because they are not interested in playing football at the moment. They just want to get the merchandise, get the sponsorships, get the weekly pay, but they don't deserve to be called Manchester United players. I'll say that much with these players. I feel like they've lost the honor of calling. They should never ever introduce themselves as, "Hi, I'm Rashford. I play for United." I don't.
100%, bro.
I don't think you deserve that, bro.
Do
And
they even have pride left, bro? Like that's the biggest question for me, bro. Like when I look at Rashford, right? Like I don't hate him, bro. I actually think he's so important for the team. I think he's the talisman. But his performances don't say to me that low. I have pride when I step out on the field in the United colors. You know what I mean? Some of
mm,
these players' performances make me feel like they feel they're bigger than our club, or they're bigger than the manager, or they're bigger than the team. And this is what gets me burnt, bro. Fried.
yeah, and I think the club needs to take that back from these players because for too long we've prioritized them and their feelings. You get what I mean? When I think elite mentality, I think of Real Madrid, and I don't think any of those fans or the club themselves would deal with these prima donnas. If you think you're better than the club, okay, goodbye, have a good day. We've got somebody else waiting for us in the wings. We will move on. Life is not about you. And I think that's what these people are failing to understand is that the world does not stand still because you're playing for United. There will still be a Manchester United long after we get rid of Rashford, which is why I feel like people need to put sentimentality aside. And I hope to God that we can try and actually move Rashford on. Because personally, I've given up on him just as much as I've given up on people like Luke Shaw. I want them gone. We need a fresh start, new faces, people like what Ralph said. Sorry. What Ralph said was we need people who are on their second, third contract who have the hunger. That hunger needs to come back to say, I can't believe I'm playing for Manchester United. This is such an honor. I'm gonna break my back whenever the manager puts me out on that pitch because I want to stay on this pitch. That's why when people say, "Does getting another striker hurt Hoyland?" I don't give a damn. Hoyland should want to play to keep his shirt. If he can't, sorry for you. There's another person waiting for you. That's what I want the club to do. Take back the power. We don't just take it away from the players. It doesn't even have to be in the manager's hands. Put it in our hands as the club because we suffer. We're gonna still be here. We say win, lose, or draw. We mean it. We're gonna still bleed red. So get rid of these guys, these fluffy guys. That's what I call them. They're just full of fluff. They just like soft. Everything of them is boo-hoo. They just want to have press conferences all the time. Well, don't shut up and play soccer. How about that? Sorry, football. European people.
Big up, big up. Before Drex goes, because I know he's got a lot to say. I just wanna I just wanna play this, bro, because I don't know. I feel a lot of fans. I feel like they've forgotten, what's really important and what we were struggling with in terms of what needs to be done, what should have been done, and the patience we should be having.
Any owner should, if you analyze the situation, it's not that difficult to analyze. The team needs a rebuild, not because some players have to go, but quite a few players have no contracts anymore. Their contracts are expiring, and therefore, for me, it's clear that there will be, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, maybe 10.
Yo, up on.
Mark, pause it. Take it back to the start. Let me, because I really want this video. I really want this video. Take it back to the start. Let me analyze it bit by bit. When I say pause, you just pause it. Play.
Any owner should, if you analyze the situation, it's not that difficult to.
Pause now. Any ownership, it's got nothing to do with the players. It got nothing to do with the manager. It's got nothing to do with these set of people. Any owner, any whatsoever, if you are owner that have a brain cell, right? The man is telling you right there. It's not that difficult to see. It's right in your face. So us as United fans, right? We this season, because there's a Sir Jim, we've forgotten that there's a Glazers behind the scene. Go ahead.
To analyze, the team needs a rebuild, not because some players have to go, but quite a few players have no contracts anymore. Their contracts are expiring. And therefore, for me, it's clear that there will be, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 new players. And then before you sign those players, you need to be aware, how do you want to play? What kind of football does the new manager?
Pause. Good. Now, that's another point right there. Before you sign those, the man said, fine, any owner should be able to see, right? It's glaring. You should be able to see. Now, not because players are going to be sold, but because players are leaving on out of contract, right? But you still have to get 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 players, right? But he said something which is very critical. Before you sign any of these 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 players, you'd have to decide what you want to be as a football club. Which for me is one of the things that gives me a little bit of hope, because Sir Jim and his co have come and say we would decide the style of football we want to play and go from there. By so doing, because it's just, it feels like Sir Jim watched this video, and actually, that's how I'm thinking now. Sir Jim watched this video, I'm like, okay, this guy is speaking facts. But I know a lot of fans will say, okay, Eric Ten Hag is this, Eric Ten Hag is that. That's aside the that, to me, that's like the least of our worries. That should be the least of our worries. It's what did the Glazers actually have this in place to say, okay, this is what we want to do? No, they didn't. So 10 years down the drain, 10 years down the line, or 10 years in the future now, we are experiencing what they didn't put in place. You don't give what you don't have. We're
100%.
experiencing we're experiencing garbage, we're experiencing dirt, we're experiencing pain, because these people, they when they came, my Bible tells me, I don't know, a lot of people have, but I believe in sowing and reaping. Whatever you sow, you would reap. They did
100%.
not. They came in and they just they sowed carefreeness. They sowed indiscipline. They sowed lack of ambition, and we are reaping it in 100-fold right here, right now.
Can I
And
also
this is
just
what.
add on? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I just want to add on to what you're saying, because that's always been my defense of this manager, to say that before we even get to Ten Hag, the manager, we have to give Omar and all of these people that were so excited about a chance to put their feet underneath the table. Because a football CEO's job is to say, what is the club's ambition and how do we get there? And once he knows because he's looking at it, he's there for the corporate and the football side of things, to say, this is what United wants to achieve. We want to achieve success. How do we do it on the pitch? Because once that has been agreed on, it affects how we do transfers and scouting. It affects how we sell people. It affects the kind of players the manager gets, and it affects the kind of manager we get. If these people haven't predetermined this, it's almost useless to get rid of the manager. That's always been my argument, because people have been shouting for different names: De Zerbi, this person, that person. But the reason why we've had a lack of continuity with the managers we've had since Sir Alex Ferguson is because there hasn't been a football strategy, whether people like it or not. It's almost been, what is the most shiniest toy? Well, besides Moyes, that was just recommendation, poor. But everybody else has been, what's the shiniest toy on the shelf? Let's get it. Whereas what Ralph is trying to say is, a football committee of sorts or board has to sit down and say, guys, we are playing whatever football. And I don't think Pep football, and I think we need to make this clear, is the be all and end all of football. But there has to be some sort of philosophy that the club says, this is what we want to see when our players get on the pitch. And then from there, it makes it easier for them to say, okay, we're going to look for players that match this, not names. Because, like I said, as fans, we're not going to be good people to vet people. Because, first of all, it's not our job to be scouts. Second of all, the people we wanted have also let us down in the past. That's why we need to let these executive people come in, assess what's been going on. And the other positive I'd like to say is the fact that Sir Jim and his people have been attending games. They've got eyes. And if you think that all of this gardening leave is going to prevent people like Omar from already strategizing, guys, please, let's live in reality. These people talk. garden leave or no garden leave.
100%, bro. 100%. And look at the last. I just want to know where the video stopped. What kind of football does the new manager want to play? And I'll just leave it there and I'll continue playing the video.
Want to play, and then take it from there, and then bring every single player fitting into that kind of profile. If you look at those two clubs who are currently dominating the Premier League, they did exactly that.
You hear what the man say? The two clubs are dominating the Premier League did exactly that. They not only decided a style of play, bringing a manager to go with our style of play, but they brought in players not only who they thought suit the style of play, but suit the style of play the manager wants to play. And then they went from there and they built on top of that. And this is the biggest thing and the biggest problem for me with the Man United fans this season, bro. We're not even allowing the man to build on top of what he's doing. We haven't even seen 10 players out the door yet. And I think until we see 10 players leave, it don't make any sense calling this team Ten Hag team unless 10 senior players leave, in my honest opinion.
And you know what, Mark? I'm glad he used the two players, and that's what I liked about Ralph. He was so straightforward with what he was saying. If you look at City's strategy, whether we like them or not, before they even brought in Pep Guardiola, they had put in certain foundations to say, how are we going to make this manager be as successful as possible for us? Because they'd already known this is what we want to do with our club. So they brought in the right COO, they brought in the right, the right people for talent acquisition, so that by the time Pep came on, Pep was almost like the cherry on top to say, okay, we've put the structure around you, go ahead and cook, and they went with that. Whereas us, we've never had these things before. And the people we've tried to put in these positions shouldn't have never been there. You're Richard Arnold's. What are you guys doing there? So we're walking into unfamiliar territory. We want instant. That's another thing. Our generation likes instant gratification, guys. Sometimes delayed gratification is better in the long term.
See, I said it earlier on Papi's stream. I'm like, and I think I'm going to repeat it here, right? Because Arsenal were doing the okay, let's just be sustainable, top four with Arsene Wenger. They were going into the Champions League every season, right? They were winning. They won the most FA Cup, but guess what? They didn't win the league as much as United did, and we knew it was between United and Arsenal in those since the Premier League inception in 1992, I believe, 1992, 1993 season. But they didn't win. They didn't win. United was sweeping the league. United was taking the league. United could afford to give them the FA Cup. But when it came to the league, we were doing better, right? Then it got to a point, they said, you know what, this model of Arsene Wenger, we got to change it. They let Arsene Wenger go. And there was a lot of cry out there. I myself, I was included. I said, why would you just let the manager leave like that? Why don't you just give the manager? The manager has been sustainable. He's been giving you the profits and all of that, right? It looked like Arsenal were breeding players for other teams. Like they weren't getting into the champions. They weren't winning the Champions League like that. They weren't winning the league as United were doing at that time. And most of the players were just leaving and just jumping ship to the next Man City. And they were doing things. Adebayo, Nasri, Clichy, and all of that, right? And they sat to themselves and like, you know what, this thing is not, this will, if we continue like this, then Arsenal will just fade away. Arsenal will just become the mid-table club. Don't mind you, when Newcastle used to be one of those people that we used to be in top four. When I started watching back then, Newcastle had them out as well, right? Liverpool also, right? But they said Arsenal, right? If they continue like this, we might just disappear and just be like a mid-table club. And they say, you know what, we're going to get the hired Unai Emery, and it didn't work out well. A lot of fans were crying out, and they were like, okay, maybe not Unai Emery. Then they got someone. Big up yourself, mentor. They got Arteta, and they said to themselves, I think this is what they said to themselves: we would stick with this guy. But you know how I believe that's what they told themselves, because when Arteta started moving like quote unquote mad with some of these players, the senior players, right? They were backing him. They were saying whatever you need, they will do. They got to this realization that Raf is just saying right now, that it's not that difficult. The owners, they got to the realization and said, okay, if we want to put our foot down, this is what we need to do. We need to get a manager, let the fans cry. They would see the bigger picture. And what happened? 8th in the first season, 8th in the second season, 5th in the third season, right? Even I'm telling you right now, right? A lot last year, Arsenal were what? Arsenal they almost won the league, but ooh, that was close. Only walking were close.
Come on.
Arsenal
Forget
almost
all
won.
the Watkins,
Yeah,
bro.
He
Arsenal
lost
almost won
focus.
the no, no, no. Arsenal almost won the league, right? But a lot of their fans were like, "Oh, the true fans, true." I don't like to call people. I don't have the right to say they're fake, but I'm just saying people that actually stuck with Ateta, that actually know what has been happening, right? Said to themselves like, "We are this close. Let's see what we do in the transfer window, and we might just that might get us over the line when it comes." And this season, we see that they are there. They are there with the likes of Liverpool and Man City. They are still in the mix. This goes to tell me that when the board, right, when people get things right, when they sit down and say, okay, you know what, enough is enough. We want to get this thing back on where it used to be and even achieve more, then they can do it. Until that time, you're just moving around the block. You're just going the merry-go-round until you decide to say. They say one of the first way to know that you're on your path to redemption is knowing that you have a problem. And until you know that, until if you don't know that, if you don't believe you have a problem, your redemption won't come. You just be blaming everybody. But once you identify like, yo, I have a problem first, and I have start seeking for help, then that's when your redemption will come, right? So for them, for
100%.
Arsenal, they did this, and look where they are now. Everybody's saying, okay, we don't want we can't be using Arsenal as the yardstick. But what they did something that even Man City owners they did it, but although we say
Liverpool
okay,
as well.
115 charges is be, but they sat to themselves and said, okay, how do we? They went too fast, in my opinion. They would have gotten to where
100%.
they are now, but they went too fast. And whether they like it or not, or if they find them guilty, I would say they went too fast, right?
Yeah, they deserve it, in
But
my
but
opinion.
but you could see the thought behind the process, like, yo, we enough is enough. We don't want to be a mediocre club anymore. We want to be one of the powerhouse in England. And they sat dog to them. Aston Villa is about to do the same thing.
True.
Aston
Well,
Villa will do the same thing.
let me finish this
Newcastle
with
will
you,
do the
bro.
same
I'm gonna
thing.
finish this with
Go
you.
ahead, bro.
Brought in two managers, but not only did they bring in two managers, they also changed the whole thing with regard to formation. What kind of players do we need? What kind of football do we want to play? I mean, the headline of everything was, how do we want to play? And underneath this headline, in every transfer window, they created the team that they have in both clubs.
And this is what I wanted to say, like basically, like I just wanted to show the fans so that they remember we were all clapping this man with his speech. We were all saying this is what we need to do. And it's only been really, really and truly, we only had one window where we saw some players go out. And I know Yali is saying, hey, we did remove 23 players, but those 23 players that we removed came from the youth team, Yali. So it wasn't even from the first team. It was 23 youngsters under 20. You know what I mean? Under 21s, basically. So for me, I think we need to see more outgoings. We need to see a little bit more from the club in the terms of backing this manager, because it's too early to stop this rebuild, to start a new rebuild. It's not going to make any sense. Where we're going to be is we're going to take ourselves further back from where we were last season. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about where we finished last season. I'm talking about where we started last season, right? Because you got to look at things prospectively. And it's not always going to happen in one season or 2 seasons. It might take 3. It might take 4. And the most important thing is not that, the progress is not is linear, but the progress is there. And we could definitely not, no one, whether you're 10 Hag outer or 10 Hag inner, you're on defense, there's no one can say that we have not seen improvement over this squad. Bro, Bailly
Yeah.
was out on loan, right? Henderson was never really getting game time, no time, right? Last I checked, Ilanga get his debut under under Ragnick. Tellez was on loan. Williams was on loan. Mengi was never being used. You know what I mean? The only players that we talking about really from the first team in this list here, bro, is really Fred, De Gea, bro. Fred and De Gea. Let me be real, bro. Fred and De Gea, bro. The rest of those players, Most of them were on loan or just made their debut last season, on the season before Tanaka came here. So it's not like if any of those players are the likes of Rashford, Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire, Scott McTominay. You know what I mean? Just these four players alone missing from that list make that list ineffective, bro. In my honest opinion. And if you want to add Bruno Fernandes to that list, we could add Bruno Fernandes to that list, bro. Because at the end of the day, in my honest opinion, the biggest problems come from those players. And well, I might say Bruno Fernandes need better players around him. Other people think Bruno Fernandes is the problem. But I can guarantee you one thing. The inconsistent form of Marcus Rashford from every season to other season is the biggest problem in this squad because they could never really truly depend on him to do what he does the season before or improve on it. And when you have a player who's technically the talisman of your team, the most important player in the squad, doing this kind of thing, it impacts negatively on young players coming up, on players in the team. It creates a problem. You know what I mean? And for me, we need to get rid of this problem. Bro, like we got I mean, you could ask this question about we playing different than under Oli. Of course, we are playing different from under Oli. Oli had no system. He had no idea. He had
I'll
no
tell you.
plan, and
Let
he
me
had
answer.
better midfield. He had a
Let me
better
answer.
midfield and a better attack. And
Let
if
me
you want to
answer ball
debate
game.
that, bro,
Let me
that's
answer
up
ball
to
game.
you, man.
Let me answer ball game. Ball game, right? Do you think? Let's be real. Do you think these players that we have now can play the counter-attacking football of this time? Do you think so, bro? Do you actually think that they can play the counter-attacking football of this time? Like they can't. To be honest with you, the players we have, they can't. The manager wanted to play his style of football last season. First two games we got walloped, right? The man said, "Okay, I'm gonna play to this guy's strength, and let me play to this player's strength." See, take this off your head, mental. When I'm talking about this right now, take the fact that I am not going to be blaming players and I'm not going to be blaming managers. I'm blaming the club. Right? Good. Let me continue. The manager played to their strength. The manager was able to galvanize. Even he brought some players that he could actually use to balance the whole thing, right? And we were able to get to finals. Ask yourself the question: the minute Martinez got injured against Sevilla, we lost that. We are out of that competition because they couldn't even play. We won the League Cup, and that was our season done. Everybody reverted back to type. The set counter-attacking football that we are looking at, right, and say, okay, people keep saying, okay, the manager is playing a pro only football for this season. I call it a fallacy because the manager is trying to play his own Ajax way of football. Although he said he's not going to do that, but he's trying to do it because look at the video that was circulating last week about Ruud Gullit poking holes at his Ajax system, right? It's the same thing he's playing. It's the same thing he's doing right now at United. And everybody's saying, okay, we need bodies. Everybody's saying there's no style of football. My question is, there's no style of football. Is it because it's not bringing result? That's why we say there's no style of football, or is it because we just don't want to see it? Counter-attacking football, when you have, we cannot even play it at the moment. When you have when you have the likes of Marcus Rashford starting in your team, by default, Bruno knows that I'm not going to pass this ball to his feet. He won't do anything with it. Let me put it over him. You could see yesterday in the game, right? If everybody wants to be true to themselves, you could see yesterday game when the players were hoofing the ball, the manager was telling them, calm the ball, put the ball down, pass, pass, pass. There is a clip out there where the manager was saying it, put the ball down and pass, pass, pass. But no, they kept hoofing the ball because guess what? Rashford is in the team, and you'd have to play to the player's strength. A lot of people saying he's not playing to the player, but he does play to the player's strength. Rashford is out there. You know, if you send the ball to Rashford in the air, there's not going to be 50-50. If you give him to his feet, he wouldn't contest a 50-50. He gets outmuscled every time. There was a ball yesterday. I was looking at the ball. I'm like, this is a 50-50. Rashford, you don't even need to do much. You just need to go close, stand, put your foot down. The man will hit the ball against you. But Rashford was like, no, I'm slowing down. So these are the things where, right, Garnacho was off in the first half. The manager made the right call to take him off. Garnacho was, if you want to be true to yourself, the first goal, okay, mistake. It was he that even made a mistake, and that guy got on through, and Kambuala slipped, and Onana maybe should have made it according to what Joe Blackman said earlier in his comment, like Onana should have at least maybe saved that, right? But it is what it is. Second goal, you could tell Dalot was actually pointing to Garnacho. Please pick this man. I've already covered the guy that's going to put in the cross. Garnacho was just looking like he didn't know what he was doing. And maybe there was something said in the dressing room before the start of that game that actually threw a lot of the players off. Maybe players went, they were going against each other, something like, I don't know, but something was said that the first 15 minutes we were off. Bruno, in my now that ball game, that's a bone I pick with
Bro,
him, but I don't have the answer.
He never
I don't
threw
have an answer
Garnacho
to
on the
that
bus.
question.
I don't know why people come in with this narrative, bro. Mental.
No,
Honestly,
this one
bro.
is saying
Like,
so many times.
I wasn't going to
times
say
as
anything,
Rashford did.
but you see that comment, bro? Bro, the man never even. At the end of the day, it was Garnacho's fault. Garnacho didn't even make an attempt to cover the player who win the ball from him from his poor touch. And this happened about 2 or 3 games now, bro.
Let me read part of the man's quote to you, and you tell me if there was anything in there. The man said, "I think we had to repair over the right side. We didn't play well. The space were there. In possession, we had to bring a sub there. Garnacho was during the week not training. Only yesterday we thought to bring some energy and bring some more quality in the sense of cooperation and togetherness on that right side. So because he called Garnacho, because he named Garnacho, all of a sudden he's throwing him under the bus. Come on, guys. You guys can do better. If you want to nail the manager, I keep saying nail the manager on other things, not these old flimsy things that you guys are doing. Okay,
Bro,
now
Alex Ferguson would have said worse, Drex. Alex Ferguson would have said he was fucking shite. The end. I've taken him off because he was shite. And I told him he was shite after the game. The end. And bro, Bruno was the best player in the game yesterday. You understand what I'm saying?
If nobody sees that Bruno was the best player in yesterday's game, then there's not.
Bro, in almost every game, Bruno is
we should be
contributing
doing
in a
this
major
stream.
way, bro. Whether or not, sometimes he might be passing well, but his defensive work rate has saved the team a lot. The only player I refuse, that I find that he should be doing it more often, is Marcus Rashford. And to be fair,
let me answer Ball on this one. Ball, on the Rashford thing, nobody knows why. But I'll tell you something, right? This thing about not playing or giving players time and time again, right? It's not just started with Eric Ten Hag. It got Ole did it. What's his name? Louis Van Gaal did it. Mourinho did it, right? And all of this got them sacked. So it shows me that whatever is happening with this favoritism, the top level, the guys at the top, they approve of it. They approve of it. Because remember when Maguire was the star man for Ole, every time Maguire was injured, the minute he was ready, he was back on the starting lineup. Even when he was not giving us his best, we had Eric Bailey ready to go. The man we put Bailly ahead of Maguire ahead of Bailly. So this goes to show me that there was something about this favoritism. It's got nothing to do with the manager. It's got to do with the club. Because if the club are frowning at it and calling the manager to their office and say, "Yo, why are you playing a certain player even if he's giving you 0 out of 10? Why are you doing that?" So it shows me that the people at the club are not ready, bro. Haven't you noticed that we cannot buy a left wing? We wouldn't buy a left winger. Haven't you noticed that everybody that has come to the club that we know that can play off the left have been forced in some way, shape, or form to play up on the right? There is no competition except if Rashford is not playing, then you throw somebody in. But if Rashford is on the bench, if Rashford is starting, there's no way. And Mami said it earlier on Papi's stream and said most of Rashford's contribution this season has been not from the right. So I don't know why. There's something wrong in this club, and until we all come together and say, okay, we agree that there's something wrong in this club and stop looking for who to nail. Because I'm not nailing anybody. Rashford can play for as long as he's like, I don't care. The manager can go, a new one can come, I don't care. As long as this club, the ownership, don't want to take responsibility for what is happening, then what we see now is what we get. We've been seeing this for a long time, and we might as well just embrace it. And I'm ready to go. Sorry, Vegeta, I'll just say this. I'm ready to go the length, right, with these guys. And I'm ready to take this. I will take relegation if it means these guys leave tomorrow. I'm telling you the truth. I'm not mixing words here.
I was gonna say
Go,
that
Vegeta.
I'll say two things. One thing is I'll say is if Ten Hag ever does leave that overlap interview, I'll be there. I will be there because the truth will be found out on that day on the overlap. And the second thing is, what's his name? So Jim, he needs to put on his big boy pants and get rid of Rashford. If that's the case, if that's what's happening right now, if he wants to prove what he's been saying to us, all this PR, get rid of Rashford. Put on your big boy pants. Mark, you're
Mark, you're on
muted.
mute. You're on mute.
On, it's about time, bro. Like, listen, I don't know about you guys, right? But I was a Manchester United fan since before 1990. You know what I mean? When I say probably 1989, 1990, because I was a youth man, 5 years old, watching United on TV, and if it's one thing over the years, United always had for me was a backbone, a sense of strength, a sense of confidence and doing what they felt is right, not what the media want or what anybody want. And they always went according to their own trajectory. You know what I mean? They chart their own course. And I don't feel like being stuck with Ten Hag, bro. Saying that means that Ten Hag is not a good coach when he's been clearly better than De Zerbi over the last 2 seasons, clearly better than Eddie Howe, clearly better than Graham Potter, and worlds better than Southgate ever will be. So I think it's absurd the way the club allowing the media to make all these concessions and all these topics and issues and all these reports about a new manager and whatnot. Yo, whether or not you want to sack the manager or not, the media shouldn't be embarrassing Ten Hag like this, doing all what they're doing. And this is the basic fact of responsibility that I think Manchester United has lost. Maybe it's because of the social media realm, maybe it's because of all the feelings of all the fans and whatever. But yo, whether fans upset or not, they should hold one sometimes. Because fans had also be patient. Because at the end of the day, for 10 years, this club run into the ground. Bad signings, overspending, And the biggest thing for me is that the overspending even went on into Eric Ten Hag tenure when the same guys who overspent for the last 10 years still spent. When, we have a list, everybody knew in May, Ten Hag produced a list of players he want to get. We never buy players till August, September, when we could have get half of those players for half the cost we eventually paid for them. Why didn't we do it then? Nobody was up in arms. Nobody. None of these fans, none of these pundits was up in arms about the poor situation and negotiations and the poor dealing behind the back. Are these so-called executive members who supposed to be, best in class or are the best, one of the best clubs in the world. They're not doing the job. But you know what? We're gonna blame Eric Ten Hag for spending 400 million. That's real interesting to me, bro. To be fair, bro, I being real honest, bro. In the climate of this football right now, where spending 70 million was like spending 30 million 2 years ago. It's insane the way people look at money and say, well, oh, this and that. But those same people, lots of them, are the same people who's boycott the club. They advocate for no spending, don't buy merch, don't buy this, don't buy tickets, don't do this, don't do that. But those same people complain about spending. But if it's not your money, because you have not been buying merch or buying anything, why are you even making it an issue?
Yeah, I think that's where some of the Ten Hag people lose me because they're even blaming injuries on the manager now. Like everything that's negative now is just the manager. I mean, that's just lazy analysis to me. Why can't we just contextualize things? Yes, we won't agree on everything, but let's talk about the football because that's what Eric Ten Hag is brought in for at the end of the day. I mean, some of these criticisms are really getting out of hand. Like I said, I think you've also said it, Mark. The manager's not beyond reproach, but when we start saying stuff like he's responsible for all the injuries, like what are we talking about
Well,
at this
see,
stage?
my thing is right now I've come to the point where if you're talking sack the manager and you say sack the manager and you don't put the players or you don't say fix the club in the same breath, I don't want to even entertain a conversation with you because I'm like, I know what you want to do. Right? I just walk past you. If you say sack the manager and you're not talking about the club, you're not actually looking, you're not saying anything about fix the club, like sack the manager is part of the problem. We know the club. If you're not saying all of that, if you're just coming out of me and saying sack the manager. You are just leave your. It's your opinion. You have the right to your opinion, bro. You have the right, bro. But don't make it sound like it's gospel to me because it's not. You have your own opinion. I have mine, right? So when like earlier today, somebody was asking me why am I backing this guy? Why am I pitting? Will I back him to? I'm like, yo, bro, I'm not doing that because it's Eric Ten Hag. If this was Southgate right there, I would back Southgate. If this was I'm done with all of these manager hiring and firing. I'm done with it, bro. Honestly, if this was Southgate, if this was David Moyes, if this was Roberto De Zerbi, if this whoever it was at this point where Eric Ten Hag is at the moment and is having this kind of result with the same thing that we've seen over the years, let's get this right. If it was a different problem, if it was a situation where this was new to us, we haven't seen this before, then maybe I'll be looking towards. I'm like, okay, is there something that's going on? But we saw this. Ragnick came in, and the height of indiscipline I saw when Ragnick was there was, bro,
Criminal.
it was fever pitch. It was criminal to say the least.
These
Like
guys are
players
so
knew.
childish.
It's like the some players knew that John Motto just deceived this guy to come take the interim. So players already knew that this guy was going to not be the consultant, play the consultancy role at the end. They knew, so they just outrightly disrespected. How do you disrespect your boss, and how do you put your employee in terms of a manager is supposed to be over that should have subordinates under him? How do you make him look a fool in front of his subordinates? It doesn't make sense. That disrespect from the top, disrespect from the bottom. That was the height for me. And a lot of fans were like, you know what? Get rid of these players. Get rid of these players. We don't want these players. Get them. They are bad. They are crap. They are disrespectful. But Ten Hag came, steadied the ship, knew that the previous season was so dead, and tried to instill some sort of hope in the fans, right? Tried to reconnect the fans to these set players, right? I think that was his own mistake. He should have just
Exactly.
let, yeah. But he tried to do the right thing by trying to reconnect the fans to the players because there's nothing you're not a club if you don't have fans, right? So
Hundred
he
percent.
tries to manage that situation. I'm like, these guys, you lost the fans. Fans were saying you're not fit to wear the United shirt during the Ole Ragnick era. Fans were saying that, but all of a sudden we've forgotten about that. The man tried to marry the club, the fans, and the players back and say, okay, in harmony and all of that. He gave us something, right? I, for one, felt like, okay, you should have stuck to your guns, but that would have been more detrimental because these
Hundred
players
percent.
are these players were coming off a season where they lacked confidence. They were being disrespectful and indisciplined. Coming into a new manager, if the manager had brought on his style and tried to even force them to play, then would have been seeing leaks everywhere around the club. Like, yo, this manager is drab. That way, like, but the manager tried to marry everybody together in harmony, and we saw that okay, these guys could produce. But we already knew. Let's not kid ourselves. A lot of us already knew that when the shit hits the fan, a lot of these players will revert back to type, and that was what we saw that already this season. The minute we started having injuries left, right, center, they knew that okay, they just threw with the top. And guess what? The owners, they facilitated this. You were supposed to sell this club before this, right? Maybe March, before the season started. But no, guess what you did? You dragged it even on to, you had to make a statement on Christmas Eve to say, okay, the money so, and we went to January. This is the problem. We went to January. We knew Marshall was going to go on a surgery to fix his knee or whatever it was. We knew. Look, Shaw, you don't tell me that it's they just told the manager that Shaw and Malasia will be back. Then the club does not know, the boards don't know that these things are not true. You knew that you didn't have a fit left back, but yet you guys sanctioned the fact that Regulon should go back, and you couldn't even get a light 1 million, 2 million loan player in. Last season, we were in the same spot, but you managed to get us a light 3 million loan player in the person of Wegos. You also brought in Sabisa, right? Because Ericsson was injured. Let's not kid ourselves. You brought in Sabisa because Ericsson was injured, and you want to make yourself look good in front of the manager. But this season, you knew we have only one striker, and the striker could get injured anytime. But because the manager worked magic last season, you are expecting him to work the same magic this season. Bro, make it make sense to me. So that's where I'm lost. That's where I'm like, you know what? Nah, man. Nah, man. Nah. From February last year, from February the year we won the when we after we won the League Cup, I just knew that I started seeing the revert back to type thing of this player. I'm like, oh no, here we go again. Here we go. And we're gonna if we don't fix up, sack Eric Ten Hag by the end of the season or tomorrow, whenever you sack him by the end of the season, get in a new manager. And if you don't fix up, you and I, mental ball game, God willing, Yao Mamin, everybody will be here, right? We'll be saying the same thing again. We'll be saying the same thing again. That's how. So it goes to tell you that it's not just one person. You can't just put this on one person. That's my take on it. And until we are ready, and like I said earlier in purpose, I'm holding on to hope. I'm holding on to the fact that a lot of these things that Ralph Ragnick said a while ago in the video we watched, Sajim has echoed them in his own words, right? So yeah, I'm looking forward to all of the bet. They shouldn't come in and start prioritizing and start bigging up these English players that we know are not good enough in our team. They shouldn't do that. They shouldn't do that. If they start doing that, like what Mental Ball Game says, if Rashford is still here next season and is starting, I don't mind keeping Rashford, but if he's on the list of players to start week in, week out, when he even gives us 0/10, then we know that, yeah. Then you can. Me, I've already confirmed my thesis. I've already confirmed my findings that we are done as a club. But if it happens, then maybe a lot of other fans would not realize that, okay, you know what? It's not the manager this time. It's actually the players and the board. It's not even the players, the board level.
Any last comments, Vegeta? I wanted to play a video afterwards, so might be a little bit of laugh for the guys watching.
Yeah. I think I'll say this as I close off my thoughts. I think as much as we all agree that this is deeper than the manager's problem, he's not the sole problem. We don't just rip Ten Hag out and put another manager in and it works. I think we need to also leave some room open to the possibility that once the analysis is done of what we're going to be doing moving forward, which is what I'm hoping Ineos does, then Ten Hag might not be that person. And I think we should also be okay with that to a
No,
degree.
no, no.
Yeah,
Vegeta,
we are
Vegeta,
okay with
see,
that,
bro,
Vegeta.
Vegeta, that's what people don't get. They think you and I, Mark, they think we are not, we are okay with that. I'm okay with this statement. The manager is not, I am okay. I just said it right now that I have a bone to pick with the manager for not dropping Rashford week in, week out. I have a bone to pick with him,
Me too.
right? I have said this several times, Vegeta. We are okay with it. If the new structure comes in and say, okay, Eric Ten Hag, you're not the man for us, right? Go, right? We want to start afresh the same way Arsenal started afresh with. Remind you, Arsenal actually employed Unai Emery and they let him go. If they come and say, okay, we want to let you go, we want to start afresh with our own coach, our own manager, right? Or a coaching system where group of managers are going to be together, right? Bro, I am all for it as long as by the time we come back in 2026, this time around 2026, I always like to give it 2 years. 2026, this time around 2026, we are not seeing the same problem, right? Then I know, okay, we are heading. If that's not the case, then we've not learned anything. That's what I'm trying to
Mm,
say. So I'm not.
mm.
So guys should get it straight. I'm not against sacking the manager. If that's what they want to do, that's them. But they need to fix up. That's my
Fix
bottom
up
line.
first, bro.
Fix up.
Me
Fix
don't
up.
mind like this. I see Vegeta like, bro. I'm not even saying Ten Hag is the man to take us to the promised land, bro. But what I'm saying is, if we going to play attacking style football going forward, it makes no sense rushing to get our next coach now rather than replacing the players profile for profile, so that when we do identify that coach that taking me to the promised land, we could just bring him. And we would
Yeah,
already have
Straight
a
up.
squad that largely ready to play his
To
style of
go.
football.
Yes.
You know what I
Yes.
mean?
That's
He
what
not
they did
going to go
at
through the
Man
same
City.
headache as Ten Hag, had to put square pegs in round holes, had to look for players to substitute, supplement in the youth. He had to hope that he gets a window to get some service, to get some players into the club. No, let we already have players that are capable here to meet that manager. And the
yeah,
reason why I'm saying that is that because if we give Ten Hag this next year, that means this next window we could see 4 to 5 players leave, if not 8. Because when I say 4 to 5, I'm not including Martial, Amrabat, and Christian Eriksen. So I'm talking about, and I'm not even including Donny, and I'm not even including Sancho. I'm just talking about the ones that in the starting 11 right now. You know what I mean?
have
That
to
we
go.
need to that
Yeah,
needs to probably move on. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
saying that it takes us forward in the same style that we want to play, and having a system, having a structure behind him. We've seen him successful, so it mightn't be. that we're gonna fight for the Champions League next season. But if we stick with him, at least we're gonna see some of the players go out, and we will definitely see a change in the performance and consistency of the team next season. Positive
Yeah,
or
that's what,
negative, it should
yeah.
happen.
That's why I caveated it by saying if Ineos has done their homework and they say, listen, you got hired by the Glazers, you're not our dude. This is what we're trying to do. I'm opening myself up to that to say that's fine. But let them at least take their time. Put your feet. Get. So Jim, get an office. Get comfortable. You see the crap that's on the pitch. Get the right toilet paper to get rid of that crap. And then make your changes. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly, exactly. And I just wanted to play this because I feel like a lot of United fans forget the way that other teams and actually new managers who know about football, what they really think about Manchester United and how they prepare their team to face United. And I just wanted you all to hear what Iraola has to say because, is one of the few managers that I feel he's very objective and respectful. And when he speaks genuinely.
It's a team like I always use it a lot in Spain with Real Madrid. Sometimes you play against Real Madrid and you are playing well and thinking, we are doing well against Real Madrid, touching the ball, boom, boom, 3 seconds, 1-0, losing. United is this kind of team that you think you are doing well against United, but if you don't take your chances, they always find ways because they are very good on transitions. They are different makers at the other end, and we could see it today.
You understand, guys? So while it might not be looking so bleak, and while a lot of people say that we're not good or we don't have a style of play, you hear from the Bournemouth manager himself, Iraola. He says we are very good on transitions. And I would like to say this is my argument to those folk who keep saying there is no style of play. Why would a manager say that we are very good on transitions if we don't have a transitional style of play, exactly like the manager explained previously? At the same time, in closing, I just wanted to say, listen, although I'm not Ten Haging blindly. And as much as I might want Ten Hag to take us forward, I just think that in progressional sense and progressive terms, is the right decision to make considering all things taken into circumstance that happen throughout the season, where the club is at, the finances of the club, and the fact that we really need to get rid of a lot of players in the squad who was here before Ten Hag's arrival. And maybe he might not be that guy, but maybe he might prove to be a better coach than we think he is right now. Because could you imagine we get rid of 5 to 6 players this summer? Ten Hag stays. He gets 5 to 6 players come into the squad with additional youth who were either out on loan or became moved up from the under 18s. And we go on to have a season where we compete for the league. It's possible. It's football. It's not predictable. It's not written on paper. And it's not always set in stone. Anything can happen. And this is why we love the beautiful game. So big up to all of you joining us. Hope you guys, keep smashing the likes, hit the subscribe buttons, hit those notification bells so you can see when we're live. And don't forget, guys, if you're on X, give us a retweet, leave some comments. It helps the channel grow. Don't forget
Mark,
to follow Drex.
before you go, let me just big up everybody. Big up Mental, big up Yao and Joe Blackman. I saw your comment. Big up yourself, bro. Yo, guys, just get this right? We just see your opinion is your opinion. Mine is mine. There's no good or right or wrong, right? That's why we have this debate. There's no right or wrong. So because how you see things is different from how we might have a table right there in front of me, and I might be saying, okay, there's a scratch on it, and you'll be like, no, that's perfectly fine. Doesn't make yours wrong or doesn't make mine bad.
100%.
So it's different view. We see same thing, but we see it from different view. At the end of the day, know that what Drex or what Vegeta or Mark or Mental or Yao Mamen wants is the same thing, bro. It's the same thing. We want what's best for our club. It's the same thing. They used to say there's an adage in my country. It says there are different ways to skin a rabbit. There are different ways So it's the same thing. We disagree all the time, but that's it. That's it. Yeah, mommy, you couldn't have said it any better. That's it, bro. That's it. So when we don't be looking like, oh, maybe if for any way, shape, or form somebody said something that maybe you feel it was disrespectful, bro, don't take it personal, bro. It's just the emotions we all have. Because if we have you here, it's these emotions you would. So But we try to be more realistic and rational and creative in how we think this thing through, so we don't just come out and just be spewing garbage all the time. You understand?
And
So
guys,
none of us is following this guy blindly, but we just want them to fix the club up. That's all we say.
and to be fair, guys, right? You know, what I mean, you gotta remember, right, guys? Like, we all come from different parts of the world. You know, the humor and the sense of, you know, and the jokes and thing might have slightly little different connotations. You know, but you know, at the end of the day, we might all think that universally anybody would laugh at something funny that we do or say. You know what I mean? But you know, if in case people feel as a thing, like, I would never try to you know, to tell someone they are any less of a United fan than me. You know what I mean? And everybody knows, look, bro, I paid for a sleeve. I'm supposed to be doing a sleeve on my hand. And I haven't done it yet because, you know, I feel like when I do it, it's going to change this. And, bro, it could be long, you know, if I don't like how it looks when it's changed. So, you know, guys, it's all about these things. We are all Manchester United fans. Everybody wants to see the club successful, whether we have different views, different takes, some tactical, some non so tactical, some eye test, some on the stats. You know, at the end of the day, we all want to see the club win. And we all might have different levels of patience, comfort, and tolerance for those things. And we might have all different, you know, some of us like Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Some of us never wanted Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Some of us growing to like the changes or the little decisions that he's making so far. You know, it's a spectrum. And at the end of the day, as long as we all have the same genuine direction, which is love for Manchester United, United being the best again, you know what I mean? We all family. So don't forget that, right? Just remember that all the time. So as much as, you know, we might chat a little shit here and there, at the end of the day, we all one big happy Man United family. You know what I'm saying? Whether or not you in China, or you're in Ethiopia, or you're in USA, or you're in Belarus, or you're in Tobago, you know, no matter where it is, South America to Europe, China, it don't matter, bro. Australia and all. You know what I mean? We all here for United. So big up to all of you joining. Thanks so much for always taking the time with us. Big up to you, Jib Vegeta. Guys, my boy Vegeta just started his own channel. You know, it's called Zaball. You know what I mean? He's going to be covering and giving his views on some of the games, match reactions and stuff. Don't forget to check him out if you guys have time. I've dropped the link in a few of my chats before. We'll put it up in the community page so you guys can check him out. And Drex, my buddy, my pal. You know what I mean? Don't forget to check out D-Hub Sports, guys. Smash a like for Drex because you know we will be doing some streams there. You know how it is. It's that summertime, transfers coming in. Big up to all of you joining. And, you know, this week is going to heat up really nicely because I have a few, you know, little bit of transfer talks and speculation for you guys. I know a lot of people have been talking about this player and that player, but, you know, keeping it all in realism, there's a few players I would like you guys to look at. I did a part 1 to this a few weeks ago. This is going to be the part 2. And yes, it's going to feature some players that are under 24, but their price tag and their performances over the last 2 seasons is what's drawing the attention of Man United scouts. And it might be very, very, very interesting if we were to go in for these players, guys. So stay tuned for more. We catch you guys all tomorrow. Big up to all of you watching. You know, don't forget to smash a like and subscribe. And if you can, share it around on the platform, on the socials. Help the channel grow. We love you guys. Manchester United draw 2-2 with Bournemouth. Hopefully we get a better win this weekend upcoming. You know, we are in the FA Cup. It's the final, is a semi-final against Coventry. And you know what, guys? I've been saying all along for the last few weeks, we're going to win games 4-1, 5-1. It hasn't happened yet. Maybe it will happen in this one. Big up to all of you. Catch you guys later. We out.
Oh.